Greetings and welcome to the second episode of Introduction to Astrology. I'm your host, the Professor. I wanted to thank you personally right now for subscribing to this channel and all of your support. Everything that you do keeps this education moving forward. And I also wanted to give a special thank you to Crystal in the Tri-Cities. Thank you so much. She had me on her Origin Stories program, which is doing fantastic on YouTube as well. And I also wanted to thank her for her support in this education. This second episode is going to focus on foundational concepts of astrology. And these foundational concepts are as ancient as astrology. So the first of the key concepts are these 7 sacred laws. These are taken from the Kybalion. But the Kybalion was written by 3 initiates, and it's a fairly recent book in terms of history, but these concepts go way back to the Egyptians, the Sumerians, the Indo-European/Aryans. All of these laws have existed for a very, very long time, which tells you that the ancients really had a firm, profound understanding of the universe, much, much more than we give them credit for. So without any further ado, I wanted to begin with the law of mentalism. What is this law? What does mentalism mean? It sounds kind of magical, strange. Well, mentalism basically is the statement that there's no separation between the mind and the universe, that they are in fact one system. It's all consciousness. Now, somebody might be religiously oriented, say that would be a sign of God, or somebody might be scientific in their orientation, coming at it with an energy explanation. But God or energy doesn't really matter. What really matters is that it's all one thing, and that it's interacting with itself. And so our understanding of the universe is actually the universe understanding itself. Also, if you're familiar with the book The Secret, the law of attraction, all of that kind of thing, it's based on this essential law that whatever we hold in consciousness, we're going to attract in our experience in consciousness. But this notion of mentalism is the one reason we can do a reading at all, astrological reading, because whatever is going on inside the person is naturally reflected in the universe. And so that makes it publicly available to a person who's not necessarily the person that we're talking about. All right, so that's a very important concept, the law of mentalism. Second law is going to be the law of correspondence. What is this law? Well, the law of correspondence states 2 things. As above, so below, as within, so without, which means everything in the universe affects us, but everything we do in ourselves affects the entire universe. And so it's reciprocal. It moves in both directions. Notice how this is very similar to the law of mentalism. As a matter of fact, these are different iterations of the same law, but different aspects. Okay, so now the second thing that correspondence says, that the closer 2 things are alike in consciousness, the closer they are in kind. Alike in mind, alike in kind. So I think we talked about a little bit the sun being like the lion in the first episode. But let's take another example, for instance. Why is the head the correspondence for the sign Aries when we talk about the physical body? Well, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's the beginning of spring, and it's considered to be headstrong or moving forward. So the correspondence in the body is considered to be the head for that particular sign. And you'll find that there are other correspondences for the zodiac. Generally, it moves from correspondence to symbol to physical reality or keyword. So we'll kind of move in that direction as we explore these concepts. The third concept is the law of vibration, that everything in the universe is in motion. There's nothing that's still. And even if you look at a chair, that chair is alive. It's a hive of molecular energy. And all of that energy is vibration. And I would contend that the simplest behavior of any system is the vibration. It's just a going back and forth energy. And you'll see that this is the case with the zodiac. This is the case in biological systems, the rise and fall of nations, electricity, electromagnetism, any of those things. You'll notice that the law of vibration is at play. The fourth law is the law of polarity, which means that everything is in motion. There's all vibration, and that vibration moves between 2 poles. And those poles can be considered active and passive poles, positive and negative, masculine and feminine. And this is a universal law as well. This leads us to the law of rhythm. Rhythm states that everything has a high and a low, a hot and a cold, and it goes back and forth between these 2 poles. And if you consider the world that we live in, the physical world, to be the law or the world of duality, okay, the world of duality is space and time, that the law of rhythm is always at work, okay? Finally, these last two laws, we have the law of cause and effect, which means that anything that we see has a cause behind it and is going to cause something else in the future. And this cause and effect is basically a reiteration of these other laws, but there's a profound understanding that whatever you cause within yourself has an effect in the universe. And this last law we have is the law of gender, that everything in the universe has masculine and feminine energy, active and passive poles. And so really to understand the universe is to master this law of gender, but also to master it in yourself. That is, your physical or passive outward appearance is the residual outcome of your active orientation within. And the more active and purposeful you are in your own consciousness, the more that will be reflected outwardly. Okay, so these are the laws that give birth to understanding astrology. And astrology has, of course, masculine and feminine energies. And each of the signs is a combination of 3 qualities and 4 elements. 3 times 4 equals 12. Simple mathematics. The 3 qualities are cardinal, fixed, and mutable. What does this mean? Well, cardinal signs are the beginning of each season. So spring, summer, winter, okay, all of those beginnings of those seasons are going to be the beginnings of those cardinal signs. Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, okay? Fixed signs. What are the fixity? Fixity is the middle of the season, okay? Middle to the end. So it's going to be the middle of spring. It's going to be the middle of summer, etc. And then mutable is going to be when one season is transforming into another season. And mutable, of course, means changeable. So we're talking about the energy toward the end of the season changing into the other season. All right, and so we'll look at how these play out in later episodes, but that's essentially the energy of those qualities. Also, we have these 4 elements, okay? Fire, which is masculine or active in its character, okay? Earth, which is feminine. Air, which is masculine, and water, which is feminine, okay? So, and incidentally, whenever we start moving through the zodiac, it's going to always go fire, earth, air, water. If we start at the very beginning with the sign of Aries, Aries is fire, Taurus, Gemini, air, Cancer, water. And then it goes right back over again. Fire, Leo, earth, Virgo, air, Libra, etc. So it's always going to move in those patterns. This is really important because notice that when it moves in those patterns, it moves from the masculine to the feminine pole and back again, back and forth, okay? So understanding this sine wave, if you want to think of it that way, this wave that is constantly moving through the zodiac, helps you understand that none of this, not one bit of it, is arbitrary at all. A lot of people who don't really understand astrology come at it with, well, it sounds woo-woo, it sounds made up, it sounds like it's just out of nowhere. But really, when you have an understanding of astrology as a system, it really is purposeful, meaningful, and there's no arbitrary components to it. Okay. If you look here down at the bottom, I wrote this other one, the law of unity. Well, there are these 7 laws, okay? But notice that at the center, at the pendulum, there's no motion, right? Okay? There's no motion here at the center of this, which is basically the zodiac. If we look at how the pendulum's working in a circle, we're going to see that the planets are going to be going around, and planet in the Greek means wanderer, okay? It's going to wander about an apparent fixed background of stars. We're also going to have the signs, right, which the planets move through. But notice that as it moves through the signs, we've got this going back and forth energy, okay? That's the law of vibration at work. That's the law of polarity at work. But at the center, there's none of these laws at play, which means that it has an independent energy. And the great avatars of history, Jesus, I and the Father are one, or Buddha, nirvana, the idea of center, stillness. This concept comes from this idea that there's a hub of the wheel, and that hub of the wheel transcends all of the laws because everything leads to the center. And the higher it moves up in energy, the less apparently there is movement. But it's not motionless. It's so high in vibration that we can't perceive its energy. And so this stillness, this still center, what we call, is the law of unity, where all is one. Often the symbol of the wheel is the symbol of spirit. And if we look at the elements of life, for instance, you can look at fire, for instance. These all more or less follow our states of matter, right? Fire is a plasma. Earth is matter. It's solid in its energy. Air is a gas. Okay? Water is a liquid, right? Well, spirit is absence or space. Okay? It's that pregnant possibility that might be the space for one of these. Okay? So the great mystery, of course, and we've talked about this before, is how did the ancients know this? How did they understand this? Well, that is a discussion all in of itself for later episodes. But what I really wanted to emphasize and help you understand today is there are laws governing astrology. There are foundational laws and there are universal laws. Those foundational and universal laws give birth to understanding how these qualities and elements combine to form the 12 signs. And that the sun moving through the 12 signs moves always from masculine to feminine energy and back. This follows the law of vibration. So what will we be talking about the next time are more foundational concepts, but more specific in terms of the planets, the signs, houses, and aspects, and how those each affect how we understand astrology and what their roles are. I thank you again for subscribing to this YouTube channel. I encourage you to donate to keep this education going. You'll see on the back of the YouTube channel background there, you'll see a little thing that says donate. Any donation is welcome. And of course, thank you so much for tuning in, and be the change you wish to see in the world. So long.